Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. Over the past 2 days, we have listened to amazing musical performances, and some of us have visited the ruins at Diriyah or the Lion Culture Artistic Hub. These experiences have given us a small taste of Saudi's rich heritage and culture, which is the topic of our next discussion. Her Royal Highness Princess Noura bint Faisal Al Saud is on a mission to support, grow, and publicize Saudi's creative industries with the dual goal of enhancing the lives of locals and diversifying the economy as part of Vision 2030. She founded the first ever Saudi Fashion Week in 2018, helped establish the Fashion Commission at Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Culture, and runs her own boutique culture and communications agency, Culture House. It's a lot of culture. She's a very busy woman. Please welcome Princess Noura to the stage.
Princess Noura, welcome to Most Powerful Women International. It's such an honor to have you here. As we heard from Mihal, you are a woman with a very impressive and varied resume. Talk to me a bit about growing up, how you knew you wanted to become involved in the creative industries and fashion specifically.
So first of all, it's really good to be here, and it's lovely to see all these women here. I was so impressed with the morning talks, and honestly, it's just an honor to be here with everyone. On that front, Ellie, I think we had this conversation before. I mean, I never thought I would be in the creative world. Basically, I'm not a creative. I look at myself more as a business person. When I look at things, I see how can I create impact through that. And what really drew me basically to culture, in specific also fashion, was because I lived in many other countries where I felt culture was a way for us to speak to each other and to really culturally exchange between our cultures and have a dialogue. So I lived in Japan. I studied there. I was also exposed to the culture there, and that was one of the most interesting experiences of my life.
In what way?
It was really interesting in the sense that when I moved there, I did not speak the language. And then I had to learn it the hard way. And to be able to really, really like dwell myself into that culture, I went to school there and learned the language, and it was not a difficult, it was a difficult language. Coming from, I mean, I grew up speaking French, so I'm French educated, so it's a completely different language. It's a completely different alphabet, you know? So it was important in order for me to be able to basically really experience the culture, but also connect with people there. And that's how I see culture. I see culture as a creative, but also it's a bridge. And what I was so interested about is how to create businesses from that, how to grow creative worlds, how to make sure that it can be monetized, basically. So,
And let's stick on that point of monetization for a second. So right now, the fashion industry in Saudi Arabia contributes 2.5%, correct me if I'm wrong, to the country's GDP. As part of Vision 2030, I'm sure many of you in this room already know, the goal is to increase that figure to 3%. How is the government doing that? How is the country doing that?
So obviously the efforts that the Ministry of Culture is doing is amazing in terms of not just looking at it on supporting the growth from a business perspective, but also policy. When you have an infrastructure that supports the creatives and you put policies in place that really enables their growth and creates and supports their business structure, that will help it grow even.
Give me an example of a great policy that.
So, for example, if you look at the business world here in Saudi, you have before Vision 2030, designers weren't able to even register their own CR. Like there was nothing called fashion business. Nothing. You had to create something to be able to work in that. So today, no, you actually, as a designer, you can have your own CR, commercial registration. You can also basically be registered as a fashion designer. So that as a job was not there before. now it's there amongst other jobs within the fashion ecosystem. So what's good about what the efforts at the Ministry of Culture is that they looked at it from the full value chain. And that's what when I was part of that, when I built the infrastructure, we looked at the strategy from the full value chain. We wanted to make sure that jobs were created across everything. And then work on that from a policy perspective, but also enable jobs and create opportunities for people. You have amazing talent graduating from universities here in Saudi. They didn't have a place to work. They didn't have anywhere to go. But they loved fashion. They loved studying the creative, specialities, but they didn't have a chance to implement what they learned or to at least be creative. But then with the Vision 2030, that was all looked at across all sectors. And now you have people working in all cultural sectors with a profession that really represents what they want to do.
Which is incredible. There's so much activity going on inside the country. How are you thinking about amplifying what's happening in fashion, say, globally, so that the world now knows to take Saudi Arabia seriously as a hub when it comes to the global fashion industry?
So I'll thank you for that question. I just met someone before coming into the basically to be here on stage, she reminded me of the program that we did back when I was at the Fashion Commission, and it was the first kind of initiative of its kind in Saudi. It was called the Saudi 100 Brands, which lives until today. So I remember when we first did it, the amount of creatives that applied. So in my database, we had 500 designers. The applications we received were more than 1,300. So that tells you the appetite that's out there and the potential of the creative industry, specifically when it comes to fashion. So it's something like this program that has started in 2021 and has lived on till today, enabling and supporting supporting the growth of fashion businesses is what, even participating in different countries. Now they're participating in Milan, they're participating in Paris, they're even selling in different department stores around the world. And this is, you start it with the infrastructure and you build it right, and then you let these kind of programs really move forward in the sense that supporting even more talent, making sure they're being mentored, exposing them, making them understand how business structures should be done, specifically when it comes to the creative world. You can be a creative, but you also need support in knowing what does it mean to create a business around your creativity.
Absolutely.
So this is the whole point of these kind of initiatives and programs.
And what are the obstacles to this? Because as I said, so much incredible activity, but when you are essentially rolling out an industry on a completely new scale over the course of 4 years, it can't all go to plan. What are you finding both within the country and also externally, and how it's being received, or maybe some blockages?
Yeah, no, of course, and I think until today it's not perfect. We do receive comments saying, okay, no, there's, you think you know things at the beginning, and then you set this infrastructure and this, think, okay, this policy needs to be done, needs to be done, we need to support their growth here. But then when you put that into implementation mode, then you start to realize, okay, no, there's something missing here, we need to fix it. But you'll only know if you do it. If you don't do it, you won't know. So this is the whole point of really, I think even at this point, the ministry is relooking at the strategies for all the commissions, because 5 years down the line, there are things that need to be looked at and changed and reevaluated. And that's how you continue and you create that sustainability around the creative world, is that you continue to have in mind one thing. I need to support the creative ecosystem. I need to create an infrastructure that supports them. And this is going to have to change with time and time and time. And we need to be agile and adapt to whatever it is. So if you don't have that agile behavior, it's not going to work.
You mentioned how many jobs are being created. I read a statistic which said, and it might have changed since I read it, that there are 320,000 jobs in the Saudi fashion industry now. Many of those jobs are done by women, which is incredible. How do you think about ensuring that women at all levels of the industry are paid well, have great opportunities for progression, have good working conditions?
Yeah. So I think if we look at the overall strategy of women enablement in the workforce, that is just typically from a Ministry of Human Resources point of view, and that really cascades across all sectors within Saudi. And I feel like from there, this is the most important thing, is that women really feel like they can do so much because they have the support, but also there are systems in place that really support their growth, in the sense that they're paid well. I think in Saudi, women and men are paid equally. There's no difference in salaries. Even in terms of the creative world, I feel like we see a lot of women that are in the creative world, specifically when it comes to fashion. And a lot of people tell me this is not the norm in other countries.
Let me tell you, from Europe, that is not the norm.
Exactly. So basically, it's really providing an infrastructure that supports women, but also I feel like it's not looked at from the Ministry of Human Capital as just one area or one sector. It's really looked at, and I think we had panelists before talking about sports. So it's really looked at from a fuller and bigger vision, and then how that really implicates across everything else. But again, I mean, you have universities here that teach fashion, and it's basically like really all women students there, like girls. They're not basically like that's how it was back in the days. But until now, you see a lot of women really working in the creative, but also specifically fashion. I have yet to see a course being taken by men.
By men.
But speaking on that note, really, there's huge support when it comes to women. And I mean, you can speak to any designer and they'll basically tell you, like, you know, they've seen the change even across like the value chain. When I talk about value chain, it's not just about the designer herself. It's the pattern maker. It's the prototype, a product development expert. It's everything related. The retail. When retail is huge in Saudi, and if you go to any like store, you'll see all these women working in the retail sector. And this shows you like, okay, there's opportunity there. They're happy, and it's growing. And then now all these retailers are creating programs to support their skill levels in order for them to also grow from that.
I want to ask you a question on behalf of any young people we have in the audience or beyond this room who might be watching later. When we think about the creative industries as a whole, where do you see in Saudi Arabia the biggest opportunities right now? Where should they be targeting for their future jobs?
So I think everyone needs to look at things from a very different, let's say, lens or perspective, because when people think about a specific sector within the creative world, they think of it from the artistic angle. But what I try to tell people, I'm someone that is working in the creative world, but I'm on the business side. So there are so many opportunities, the creative ecosystem is not just about being creative, it's about understanding and creating that balance between creativity and business and how that can scale. So there's so much opportunity. You have people that can be like directors in fashion houses. You can see, like, I mean, if you just look at other brands around the world, look at their ecosystem. They have everyone across the full value chain working there. So there's so much opportunity. And what I advise and maybe say to people is don't look at it just from that small, narrow angle. Make sure you look at it from a bigger picture. And that's where creativity comes from. Creativity doesn't just come from being artistic or creating something. It can also come from creating a new strategy or creating a different model or creating a genius financial plan that would support a business to grow. So there's so many ways to look at it, and that's what I love to do.
And just to end and sort of to go back to the beginning, you mentioned what a global outlook you have. You've spent time abroad. For young people wanting to be, say, the director of a fashion house, young Saudi people, do you still advise them to go abroad and get experience? Or should they stay in the country? Is there a very clear route to that here now in the country? What would your advice be on that?
No, I think exposure and being in different places is very important. I really think you will learn different things and you will experience different things, and that's very important so that what you learn, you can bring back to where you actually want to live, which is here, if that's the place you want to live. But for me personally, I wouldn't have learned what I learned if I think I was just here.
So be a global citizen.
Absolutely.
Be a creative global citizen.
Absolutely.
Princess Noura, thank you
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.